Good morning guys, how are you doing today? Welcome to the channel Plaster Master Smurf 74. It's a channel about plastering, as the title suggests. I think I'm quite nonchalant this morning. It's temperature's up, it's mid-January, it's a little bit rainy, a little bit damp. I'm not sure what we're going to film today, to be honest with you. I think I might just show you what it's like being on a building site today. If it looks like something you might want to do, then you're in for fun. If it looks like something you don't want to do, then I suggest you stay in school and pay attention. So let's have a look what we've got to do today. This area here needs to be brought up to the standard here. That's what sides of the doors, in preparation for the silicon render finish. So we're down to the scratch. It's quite a thin scratch, so we're going to have to spend quite a bit of time ruling this off and straightening it out. And we are using Fassa Bortello for that. Round the side we need to finish off some bits and pieces. Down here, so Jasper has given it another coat, because when we did this, first of all, it hung so much and he wasn't particularly happy with it, so you can see the difference. So we're putting this real tight coat, literally skimming it. I think it was with the orange bag. I'll show you what that is in a minute. Another material. Okay, so this area around the back has been all done and prepped. This area, which was done towards the end of last year, has had a bit of a battering. So this is the silicon finish. And as you can see from the work and stuff going on around the place, it has taken a bit of a battering, because none of this was in, none of the plant was in. They've drilled holes in it which need making good. So like I said in the previous video, we were doing the silicon finishes. So this is obviously an issue that comes up quite often, because the finish coat is done too early in the life of the project. There's still so much work going on, so if it was just rendering, you'd probably leave the render as it is, and then towards the end, when all this sort of stuff is done, that's when you paint it, and then you're away and it all looks nice and fresh. But yeah, so this is what's happened. So the remedy is, ironically, a paint that they do to sort this sort of stuff out. So Jasper's going to paint all this area. Here is an area that needs to be addressed. Now what's happened there is the acrylic primer was applied too quickly, and the acrylic primer, being kind of like waterproof, has trapped moisture inside that render coat, and the moisture needs to go somewhere. So it's bled out basically, and that's what's caused that bit of silicon finish there to fail. Here we have a native doing the morning ritual, and there's another native. They're quite often mooching about. We see them here in their natural habitat, making a fire. So here we are inside the project, and we was responsible for doing all this interior plastering. The underfloor heating is on, which is a lovely, lovely thing to experience when you're working outside, to be able to come in and do this. So let's get this light going. There we go. So as you can see, things are painted. Everything's looking pretty good. Some other boys did this with a method that I don't generally use. They two-coat sponged it and used a lot of those flexi rules. Very fast, slightly different way of doing things. And we've got the doors in. I'm glad they weren't in when we was plastering. Look at them, they look very expensive, solid. When you got doors like this, I'm not sure what wood that is. Oh, it feels quite treated, but that's the last thing you want to get plaster on, because it can burn a black stain into it. Here's a room that I did. A bit of a light test. Everything's looking pretty good, nice and flat. Yeah. So casting a light down here really shows up any discrepancies, so you can see it's flickering. See that pimpling there? That's because this has been sprayed. A bit of pimpling that's in the paint, that is. Is it coming through? There you go, look. But yeah, it's quite important to get internals and stuff. All your angles nice and straight. The scene is looking pretty good. So there you go, that's where we're at the moment. Like I say, not sure what we're going to record today. I'm not sure if we're even going to do this one, but we'll record some stuff and I'll have a look at it later. Tomorrow we're off to a different job, which is a little bit more exciting, if you like. It's going to be on a campsite, so yeah, hold on to your seats for that one. Okay, so if you've been following this channel, if you've been following this channel and keeping up with current affairs, you will know that this is not my job, and I am working for a guy called Jasper. I call the Emperor, as in the Emperor from Star Wars, and we are helping him with his new order in his quest to plaster the whole galaxy. He likes to get us to mix up all these different brands of top coat, which is one of the things I think is making it quite so difficult and hard for me to kind of get my head around what they actually do, mixing them up. So for that front area that I was just showing you where the scratch coat is, we're putting this stuff over there, which is called Fassa Bortello MS20. There's the front of the bag down here. It's a little bit busy in this room, it's a bit like a boot sale. So that's the stuff that's going on the front, just that by itself, going on this front area that I just showed you. That bit down the side, which is taking that really tight coat, he wants me to mix some of this together. So we got this EWI 225. There's the front of the bag there, and he wants us to mix it with premium base coat, EWI 225, that's that. And he wants us to mix it with Styro Top KSG. So half and half for that tight coat down the side. I couldn't tell you what that does. What is it? What does it say? It's in German. Is that German? Looks like German. Staroplany, or is it Spanish? What is that? I'm not too sure what that is. It's like Polish or something, isn't it? Or, I don't know, but the instructions are in a foreign language. Or exactly what it is. So let's have another quick look at these two natives over there. So we've got the little one, busy building a nest, whilst the larger one keeps a lookout for predators. Now, what's unique about these natives in this natural habitat, it's so nice to see them be able to run free, but they tend to mate for life. Once they partner, they stay together. And we need to be very careful around here. I don't know what the big one's doing. He might be doubling back on me because they have been known to charge if you disturb them, so we need to be very quiet and out the way.
For most people, as soon as they know they're pregnant, if that's a baby.
He's hopeful that a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas will be successfully negotiated this week. It's believed it could see hostages released and withdrawal of Israel's forces from parts of Gaza. And we're told the cost of repairing pothole-damaged vehicles in the UK has hit a record high. New figures from the AA suggest £579 million was spent on the repairs last year, up by more than £100 million from the year before.
Fun times, fun times. So quite often I tend to use a smaller trowel for dealing with this sort of material, but I'm using this Craft 20. I don't like it for setting because it's too curved. I bought it online and I didn't get to view it beforehand. So I'm just wondering what it's going to be like for applying this. It's a little bit tricky, I'd say. It hasn't gone on particularly neatly. It's a heavy trowel, it's heavy on the wrist, it's a heavy material. I'm going to persevere with it for a little bit. I'll tell you what it's like once I've run the rule over it. But yeah, I mean, let's have a look at the product. This is the FASA MS20. You can see it's like got a tendency like tile adhesive or something. It's almost like a floor latex. It's knocked up really stiff. And it does tend to make a mess of your trowel. You can't help but have it all bleed over, and it's, you know, gets on your hands and stuff. Yeah, it's different to normal sand and cement. Okay, so 2 bags has pretty much got all that area on. I have not ruled it off. I think I might take a rule to it just in a few moments. We can see with that 20-inch trowel how it's gone on. Still got this area to do here through all this scaffold and stuff, which doesn't make life very easy, but judging by what 2 bags just did, I'm going to guess there's probably another bag and a half of this FASA Bortello MS20. Okay, so there we go. Look, that's what it looks like after a quick rule with a derby. I'll show you what a derby is. It's still very, very wet. Maybe a little bit too early for some people to rule off. That's why we still got a lot of these marks in there. But I personally do like to get on there quite early and get it in a bit of a shape, just in case it is out a little bit. So yeah, that curved trowel did do quite a good job, to be honest, because look, this is what we used to rule it off. A shorter derby, it's a shorter rule. Very thin, it's not feather edge or anything. You can get little handles that fit into this groove here, but we haven't got them on. So yeah, it's only, it's about 1 meter 2. So I've just run that all over it, and that is all I got off that whole area. So yeah, it was quite regulated. Right, let's knock up and move on. So here we see a reenactment of Prometheus, just here, bringing fire to mankind, much to the annoyance of King of the Gods, Zeus. Later, we're going to have the reenactment of Prometheus actually being strapped to the mountain, Mount Olympus, I think it was, and those 2 guys are going to dress up like vultures, and we're going to remove his liver as punishment for introducing fire, the technology of fire, to mankind. Here we have Hermes, the messenger and the god of mischief, preparing a lovely ambrosia drink for the rest of the gods of Prometheus and Apollo over there. That's all on. Just waiting for it to pick up. That bit round the sides on. There's not much we can do for the moment. So the question on everybody's lips, what did happen between Prometheus and Zeus? I mean, they were such good mates for such a long time. Well, let me tell you, because Zeus, as we all know, is king of everybody. He was in control of everything. Everything was nice and how it should be. He had his 12 gods up on Mount Olympus controlling everything. And, you know, when I think of Zeus, because he was a friendly guy, and he was a god of hospitality and stuff, but he didn't like anybody challenging his authority. And he's probably one of his biggest downfalls was his insatiable appetite for carnal activity and chasing nymphs and later on humans and stuff like that, much to his wife's upsetment. She wasn't very happy with him, Hera, and she always cast very jealous curses upon the females that he would get hold of. So yeah, when I think of Zeus, I kind of think of there's an old English actor from the Carry On films called Sid James. I kind of think of Zeus as a bit of a beardy Sid James. And Prometheus. So Prometheus wasn't actually a god. He was actually a titan, I believe, which were the lot that came before the gods. But they were great mates. And Prometheus was more of an intellectual guy, and I think he was responsible for the arts and sciences and stuff like that, and I believe he had amazing powers of foresight and could like predict the future. And Prometheus, in the war against the Titans, even though he was a Titan, helped Zeus greatly in defeating the Titans, and Zeus lavished him with praise and reward and had him by his side as a great friend. But what happened was Prometheus, when they created mankind, because Zeus had everything all sorted, yeah, he'd beaten all the Titans, he was in control of everything, everybody was cool, but he got bored, and he was, you know, looking for something to do. It just wasn't fulfilled anymore. He didn't have any challenges until one day he come up with this great idea, and he went to Prometheus because he knew he was good at making things with his hands and sciences and arts and stuff like that. And he said, I've got this great idea. We're going to create these creatures that are going to be able to live down on the earth, and they're going to be just like us. They're going to look like us, and they're going to kind of like behave like us. And they're going to be called man, and they're going to be able to sort of like, you know, worship us and stuff. And he wanted the praise. So he said, I need your help to make them. And Prometheus agreed to it. And they came up with this idea. So they went down to the river Styx, I believe it was. And Prometheus took some clay from the riverbanks. And he needed some sort of godly essence to be able to create and bring life into the clay. So he needed a big lump of Zeus's spit to be able to moisten the clay up and be able to mold it, basically. So Zeus spat, and Prometheus used it to model human beings. And apparently Zeus went off about his business, chasing nymphs again, doing his Sid James kind of behaviour. And at the end of the day, Zeus turned back up with his daughter Athena. And by that time, Prometheus had made several little figures out of clay, and they were all different colours. And Zeus, in his clumsy fashion, as he came out the bushes and stuff, apparently he trod on them and flattened all but 3 or 4 of them, I think it was. And Prometheus was like, oh, you've done this. And then like Zeus was like, oh, don't worry, we'll just use these ones. So what they needed Athena for, so we had the spit from Zeus, we had the ability from Prometheus to actually create the human beings, mankind at the time, and so they had them, but they needed life. So Athena was a goddess of wisdom and stuff, and she breathed the life into the little figures, and that's how man came about. And there was just man for a while, just male ones, until Zeus later down the line decided to make some girls and stuff. And Prometheus was well chuffed with us, and he spent a lot of time being down here on Earth teaching man how to do things like science, how to farm, how to cook. I think he was also responsible for offering up animal sacrifices, stuff like that. And they was having a great time. But Prometheus wanted mankind to do really well. And the one thing that Zeus said, he said, you can do what you want, you can go down there, teach them what you want, but they must never have fire. And I was like, what? He goes, no, they're not allowed it, because I don't want them thinking they're as good as us. They need to be, kept down. They're just not allowed fire. That's the one. I'll put my foot down. You're not having it. They're not having it. So Prometheus just carried on for a while, and he became frustrated at this, that the man wasn't allowed to have fire. And I'm not sure if it was just fire, but Prometheus went up to Mount Olympus and he stole godly fire and he gave it to mankind. And then mankind kind of flourished. And Prometheus stayed out of Zeus's way because he knew he'd upset him, and stayed down on Earth. And I think he might have married a girl, an Earth girl, and Prometheus had a brother, I think, as well. So it stayed like that for a while, and Zeus just sat around, just, you know, simmering, until one day he went down to go and see Prometheus and deliver the punishment, because they were great mates. And Prometheus, apparently, without a fuss, went with Zeus, and they walked to this place where, in silence apparently, and then apparently there was some sort of discussion, and Zeus said, what's going to have to happen to you is you are going to be strapped down on this mountain, and every day, because obviously he was immortal, so you know he couldn't die, every day 2 eagles are going to come down and they're going to rip open your side, and they're going to eat your liver, and you're going to be for all eternity living in this agonizing pain, and then your liver will grow back, and then the next day the same thing will happen again. And he said, you know, for somebody who's supposed to like see the future, and you know, you showed no foresight in what, you know, is going to happen to you. And Prometheus turned around to him and said, no, Zeus, you're wrong. He goes, mankind will flourish. They have the fire now. They will be as good as you gods. And knowing that is balm for any pain. And Zeus looked at him and said, do you know what? Eagles are too good for you. It'll be 2 vultures. They're going to eat your liver in front of you every day, and then every other day. It's always going to happen for the rest of eternity. And that's how Zeus left them. But later on, there is a point when a hero, I believe it was Hercules, did actually get Prometheus out of that situation. So that's what happened. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. I think that the punishment for mankind for using fire was the Pandoras Box. I'm not sure, it might have been Prometheus' son. He married a rather attractive young lady, and Zeus befriended her and gave her a box, if you like, and told her she must never, I think it was a wedding gift or something. He said, you keep this, but you must never ever have a look inside it. Okay, you can't do that. But you know, here's a little pot as a wedding gift. And cut a long story short, her curiosity got the better of her because she buried it in the garden, and she did look inside the box, and she was called Pandora. And so what happened, what flew out of it was these creatures, and they were horrible things. Apparently, I assume they were like bat-like bird creatures, and what they did, they brought disease and war and famine and all the nasty things that inflict mankind now. Because what happened was, when Prometheus was knocking around and everything, there was no war, no famine, no starvation or anything like that. I believe it was called the golden era of mankind. So Zeus inflicted all of this onto mankind as punishment, and hold them back from being able to use the godly fire. And that's where Pandora's Box comes from. Oh, and actually, just to add, I think she put the lid back on, and one of the creatures was trapped still inside the box and still kept by mankind. And Zeus, like all of the Greek gods and titans and stuff, you know, there were these heavenly bodies, but they weren't, you know, they still suffered jealousy, and they could be wrong and angry and just unjust. You know, that's the one thing about Greek gods. They were just like us in a lot of ways. But the one thing, because Zeus wasn't all that bad, he was still quite a friendly guy, but you know, he just didn't cross him. The one thing that mankind was able to keep in the box, or Pandora shut back into the box, and that was what he put in there amongst all the things like famine and stuff. He put one in there which gave hope. So hope is what we still have. Okay, so let's have a look at some plastering again, shall we? So this is the EWI and styrene stuff. Well, I'd have to look at the video. I can't remember what it's called. That styrene stuff and EWI 225 mixed together. So yeah, this is what Jasper did. So he wants us to bring it up to this kind of consistency. Still a little bit wet, but we're gonna try and achieve this with a regular old sponge float, as I'm sure you're familiar with that tool, and then one of those magic sponges, I think, probably just to, you know, kind of close it in at the end. I don't know, it's a bit of a guessing game again, isn't it? But I think this just needs a little bit more time just to pick up. Let's have a look around the corner, shall we? See what's going on around here. So I've kind of trailed that bit up the top, but it's a little bit wet after sponge floating. Here's the sponge float. I haven't cleaned it out. It's one of the heavy duty ones. You can see how porous it is. So I've just sponge floated. I sponge floated this area, then I trailed it in with not that curved 20. I don't like it. I still don't like it. The other 20's around here somewhere. It's a lot better. The Marshalltown one. That one. Down now. So yeah, I'm going to let this pick up again. You don't want to play with it because then you'll end up pulling it back. So yeah, I'm just going to let this pick up and maybe go over it with the magic sponge. Let's go and find one of those, shall we? It is these things, which is basically a sponge with a handle on it. So I don't know, just to finish off, why did Prometheus do what he did? Why did he go against Zeus? I mean, in Zeus's defense, I think it's commonly believed that he didn't want to do anything to Prometheus because they were such good mates. And I think Zeus was a bit confused as to Prometheus's behaviour and why he did it. And we can only think that, you know, it was Prometheus had the foresight, and he had this love for mankind, like the love of a parent to a child, apparently. And with his foresight, he must have seen the potential that human beings could achieve, you know. And this is, you know, confused Zeus, and I think this is probably why it took Zeus so long to actually go down and confront Prometheus about it. And you know, some say that Zeus would have let Prometheus off if he, you know, just offered some sort of form of apology or anything like that. But Prometheus was having none of it. He said, "No, take it on the chin." He said, "No, I'm not sorry. I'm not going to lie or bow down to you." I don't know, maybe Prometheus had become tired with Zeus's ways, in the sense he had control of everything. And let's not forget, Prometheus did go against his own kind, the Titans, maybe with them, because obviously the guy in charge of the Titans was Kronos, who was Zeus's dad. You know, and Zeus's dad was a bit of a tyrant. Tyrant. He wasn't a bit of a tyrant. Actually, the word tyrant comes from Tyrannus, I think, who was a terrible monster, and it comes from Greek mythology. Actually, it's why you have things like typhoons or something like something is a very nasty, like typhoid and stuff like that. So yeah, Kronos. Well, he ate Zeus's brothers and sisters because he feared the curse of his own father, Eros, because he chopped off his dad's genitalia and threw it across Greece and across the Mediterranean, and it landed in Cyprus, I think, and it gave birth to Aphrodite. She came out to sea at Cyprus from Eros's genitalia being thrown and landing in the sea, and it was so fertile and stuff. She came out of it. So yeah, you know, Prometheus went against them, and you know, maybe he just didn't like their, you know, their sort of like controlling, pompous, petty ways, if you like, and saw something in human beings, and this is why he is regarded as, you know, such a dude as far as we're concerned. So there we go. It's not entirely dissimilar to what Jasper achieved. Yeah, so this is what we've done, this is what Jasper did, and this is what he wants. So what Jasper wants is what Jasper gets. We have delivered. So I was talking to a guy on the comments, American fella who's been doing these silicon finishes. I forget his name, sorry, apologies. But he said he's been doing this for 20 years. And leaving it porous like this sometimes it creates a bit of drag when you put the actual silicon on, the silicon finish, which goes really on as tight as you can and is a very, very gritty, slimy substance, and it just gets everywhere. I don't like doing that at all. I don't mind the rubbing up stage, but it's just, I don't like it. So you know, one suggestion is to trowel these in, you know, flat. You don't need to rub it up. You just literally trowel it up, get it on, maybe liven the surface up a little bit, trowel it in, and that tends to be good enough, and the surface is a lot flatter and you're not getting none of this grain coming through into the top coat. It's got to be acrylic anyway, isn't it? So that's going to stabilize a lot of this grain. But yeah, so yeah, it's up to you whether you're going to sponge it out, bring it up to this textured finish, which apparently can create drag, or you trowel it in. This is what Jasper's asked for, this is what Jasper's getting. There we go, the front is done, all down there and stuff. So that's it, going home. So there we go, that's what happened today. Yeah, just a makeshift video, just thought I'd record it. Oh, it might be alright. If you enjoyed this episode and this channel, then do like and subscribe. Have a look on the playlist for other stuff. There's loads of stuff on it now, for beginners, for people that are a little bit more advanced, people that are interested in monkeys and your mentality, and people now who might be interested in Greek mythology. So yeah, do all that, and I will see you soon on the next video. We are supposed to be going somewhere tomorrow, from we're working on a campsite. It all seems to be going ahead, and I just need to confirm with the mateys that I will be there or leaving here to get there early tomorrow morning rather than tonight, because we're actually going to stay on the campsite in some glamping pods. So that's going to be a bit of an adventure. Right guys, catch you on the next video.